Welcome to my channel. This is an indication of some of the things that I cover on a regular basis in my videos. If you haven't already subscribed, please feel free to do so, and don't forget to click the little bell so that you'll get notified of future videos. Please feel free to share my videos on your social media, and I hope you enjoy the video which follows. Well, hello everybody. I'm going to try my hand at Cape Breton pork pies. Another one of these things with a strange name. There isn't any pork in a Cape Breton pork pie, and it isn't a pie, it's a tart. But I love the things. I have a date filling. First we have to make the pastry and bake the tart shells. They're baked blind, if you will. No filling in them when they're baked. So first it's 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I'm doing this, as you can see, in a food processor, but it could just as easily be done by hand. 2 tablespoons of confectioner's sugar, icing sugar, and a cup of room temperature butter. That's half a pound of butter. If you're doing, your butter comes in sticks, buy it by the pound. It's 2 sticks. If I don't smash up the food processor, we'll see what happens here. There we go. I think that got the butter chopped into fine enough bits here. See if we can bring that together into a pastry. It's almost like a shortbread, the pastry. Goes in the tin, the muffin tin or whatever, quite thickly. That seems to be coming together, I guess, mostly anyway. And that's my oven coming up to temperature. 325 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. Let's say that is a pastry ready to go. These are usually done in a small muffin tin like this. I wish I had one with more compartments in it. I'll end up baking, well, probably at least 2 trays of them. And I'm going to try with this scoop and see if that doesn't put the right amount in there. Seems like quite a bit. Maybe I'm putting too much in. I didn't spray them with cooking oil or anything. Hopefully that means they'll still come out. There's a lot of butter in these things, so they should release quite easily, we hope. Quite as much in that one as I have the others. Let's see. Okay. It's just a matter of using your fingers like I'm using here to form it into a little cup. You want it fairly thick though. So I will show you what these look like. before I put them in the oven. Well, here goes nothing. There's the first 8 ready to go in the oven. 325 degrees Fahrenheit, and it says for 16 minutes. And I guess I haven't mentioned, but as always, I will put the link to the recipe down below the video on YouTube. Well, they didn't brown very much, but there they are after 16 minutes in the oven. And I have to wait for them to completely cool before I try to take them out of the muffin tin there. Fingers crossed they don't all crumple up and fall apart. But I will show you that, what it looks like if I get any of them out of there successfully. Well, that was a surprise. I was figuring they would fall apart. All I did was turn the tray upside down and tap it on the rack, and they all came out. I just had to turn them back right side up. So I'll carry on and bake at least one more tray, maybe even part of a third one or something. There's still quite a bit of the pastry crust left there. Well, the third batch only had 5 in it, so I got 21 of the tart shells, or cases, whatever you want to call them. Now to make the filling. Well, the filling is 2 1/4 cups of dates chopped. That's almost a pound, not quite a pound. A cup of water. 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. Packed brown sugar, 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and there's also a teaspoon of vanilla, but that gets added after it is cooked. So bring this to a boil and cook it for 10 minutes. I'll show you what that looks like on the stove. It's just starting to come to a boil. Pay close attention to it for 10 minutes here. I'll probably turn it down and let it simmer, but dates have a lot of sugar in them, plus we added 3/4 of a cup of sugar, so I don't want it to burn or stick to the bottom. It's quite similar to what you do when you're making date squares, and normally it just cooks down into a nice mash, but the instructions do say if it doesn't break down completely, you can just mash it with a fork or a potato masher or whatever to get the desired consistency. So I'll show you what I get when it's finished cooking. It's cooked for 10 minutes. Now I'll add the teaspoon of vanilla. I did mash it briefly. I still have some larger pieces in there, but I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem. This has to cool now completely before you put it in the pastry shells, tart shells, whatever. So, we'll bring you back once this is completely cooled. And the filling has completely cooled. And I'm just going along with 2 teaspoons and filling each one of the little cups as best I can with the filling. Adding the vanilla at the very end certainly gave it a nice vanilla flavor. I have tasted it, obviously. Well, I think if the vanilla had been put in earlier on, it probably would have just cooked out of it, but it has a nice vanilla flavor. Well, I'll bring you back when I get this completed and hopefully smoothed out a bit down in the individual tart shells here. Well, there they are. The cases are all filled. And now to completely gild the lily, they get some icing put on them. So let's make the icing. Well, the icing mix is 2 1/4 cups of icing sugar, 2 tablespoons of milk, and 1 teaspoon of, they were calling maple extract or something. I don't have it. I used 1 teaspoon of maple syrup, and 1/4 of a cup of very soft butter. This has to be brought to a consistency that you could pipe it in a pastry bag. So if it's too loose, add a little more. If it's too dry, dry, we'll add a little bit more liquid, I guess. Well, I didn't add anything to it, so I don't know. Hopefully it can be piped, we'll see. Either with a round tip or a star tip on your piping bag. I guess the one I'm using is called a star tip. I'm not terribly good at piping. Forewarned here. But we'll give it a try. So I will go get the tarts and see what this looks like after I pipe something on them. Well, as I've said, I'm not much good at this, but it just needs a dab of icing on top of each one, so I won't worry too much about it, I guess. Maybe it could have stood to be a little thinner. I'll show you the finished product. Well, they don't look too bad, if I must say so myself. I'll meet you in the dining room as soon as I get my cup of tea made. If you're going to make these, I would cut that icing recipe in half. I still have more than half of that left over. The filling was just enough to fill the 21 that I had. So that seemed to work out perfectly, but half the icing would be more than enough. So I'll see you in the dining room in a second or two. Well, I guess I'm not really visible in that shot. That's okay too. I know from experience that the crust on these is like a shortbread. Very crumbly. I like it, but it isn't at all like a pie crust. So here goes. I'll take a bite. That previous explanation was in case it all falls apart in my hand. And they are very good. I really like the vanilla flavor that got added to the date filling. I don't taste the maple. A teaspoon of maple syrup in that much sugar vanished. Perhaps if I had whatever the maple concentrate is, I'm sure it would have made a difference, but I don't have it, didn't want to buy it for this one little project, so I made do with good old maple syrup. Well, I hope you want to give these a try. I suppose they're a little tricky, but there's nothing complicated about it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. And that crust is just like a shortbread cookie crust. Not falling right apart like I thought it would, but it melts in your mouth. Lots of butter. It tastes very good. So let me know if you give these a try and what you think of them. And thank you very much for watching.